Jesus took Peter, James, and John his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, conversing with him. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here. One for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud cast a shadow over them, and then from the cloud came a voice that said, This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. When the disciples heard this, they fell prostrate and were very much afraid. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, Rise, do not be afraid. And when the disciples raised their eyes, they saw no one else but Jesus alone. As they were coming down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, Do not tell the vision to anyone until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Good morning. Good morning. Quite a dramatic portrayal in the gospel, isn't it? Of his body encased in light. I think Christianity throughout the centuries has kind of given the body a bad rap. You know, we don't really look kindly upon the body. Throughout the centuries, we have seen this dualism, let's say, or this dichotomy with the body being kind of a bad thing and the soul or the spirit being the good thing, and those being both separate items. And I think that's, you know, maybe easy to understand in Southern California because we place so much emphasis on the body. And I know, again, the body has been shown as this not so good thing that we have to always be careful of. And living in Southern California, like I said, that's pretty much reinforced because we see so much over-the-top attention that we give to the physical, to the material, to our bodies. Now, I was raised in Chicago, nowhere near the ocean. Lake Michigan is nothing like the ocean, especially when the dead carp wash up on the shore. And my first experience of something outside of Chicago, believe it or not, at age 18 was Santa Barbara, California. Okay, so I went from, if you can imagine, you know, Chicago, Illinois, on the south side, to Santa Barbara, California, right on the ocean. Okay, Father Jack knows the hill, which actually looks down upon Santa Barbara. You can see Carpinteria. I mean, it is a beautiful location. And 18 years old, and my first experience with Santa Barbara was, of course, the ocean, and the leadership there allowed us students, 18-year-old novices at the time, to have a beach day. So we went down to the beach, and that was a real eye-opener. Again, all the beautiful people. These tall, beautifully tanned legs and flowing blonde hair. And then there were the girls. We just get such a focus on how we keep our bodies in shape, and everybody's just beautiful. And but I can see where we may have to, draw back a little bit because we pay so much attention to the body that we kind of buy into this bad rap again that Christianity throughout the centuries has given the body. Yet, the Gospels are full of the body. When we think about our religion and the gospel journey and message, the incarnation itself is the Word made flesh. That certainly has raised the status of the body. Through Jesus' ministry, 95% of his miracles have to do with the body. Outside of changing water into wine, maybe at Cana, multiplication of the fishes and loaves, we find almost all of the miracles have to do with healing a body that can't hear, healing a body that can't see, raising a dead body to life. It's all about the body. And then we have the crucifixion, which is, again, the body. And our core belief as Christians in the resurrection, it's not the resurrection of a memory of Jesus. It's not the resurrection of his spirit. It's the resurrection of the body. So the body really has a central place in our religion, and it shouldn't get a bad rap. And in today's gospel, we have a dramatic portrayal of the transfiguration. The transfiguration basically is saying two things. Number one, there's a real integration of body and spirit. First century writers didn't have words like psyche, didn't have words like soul, didn't have words like emotions. So they used the word light to describe this inner or spiritual reality that exists. Light is energy. Just like our emotions are energy, just like our souls that give identity to ourselves is an energy. And here we have Jesus in perfect transformation, perfect connection of body and soul, of flesh and light, in that image of the transfiguration. So it is truly about transformation and reconnection, being whole, being integrated, body and emotion, body and psyche, body and soul, whatever words that we wish to use today. And then secondly, Jesus says, no tents here. Don't put up any tents. This is not an event. We're not going to set up a tent and celebrate an event. This is a process. Don't stay stuck in the status quo. No tents. This is about change. Lent, we talk about metanoia, change of heart. Talk about transformation. Changing maybe who we are so that we can become reconstituted, that we can become more and more of who we are meant to be. And so the second message is, don't get confused that this is an event and something that we just come to church today, we hear the word, it happened way back then, it's over. No, that would be like putting up a tent and celebrating this as an event. It's more than an event. It's a call to action. It's a call to self-awareness. It's a call to self-realization, to self-integration. It is truly a call to the process and the journey of transfiguration. Now, we have different vocabulary today than our early writers of the Scriptures had. And so I had the opportunity to meet with a lovely person, Gail Andrews, who is with me today, to help us maybe put some of this integration idea and this integration process and experience that Jesus has given us, to try to put it into some contemporary language so that we can understand it and participate in it as a process going forward. Gail joined us about 3 weeks ago, I think, for Mass, her very first time here. And so I talked with her and found out that she was a therapist in practice for 16 years, focusing on what is called integrated body therapy. And it's about transformation and the integration of body and soul, body and emotion. Gail, this is her second time here, so you have to be gentle with her. After one time, we don't do this to all people that come here, just one time, have him preach or whatever, a homily, to join me in the homily. So don't get worried, you can invite your friends. They won't all be asked to do this. But Gail has graciously agreed to share some of her knowledge and some of her thoughts and process regarding integrated body therapy, again, to bring that message of transfiguration alive. I think you'll enjoy what she has to say because her background is one of accounting. She was a forensic auditor. So she understands science. She understands like the engineering part, okay? And yet she has changed her focus in life from that to the psychological sciences, the social sciences. So at this time I would like to welcome Gail to share with us from her vocabulary some ideas about the integration of body and soul, body and emotion.
Thank you so much, Father Mike. I am honored to be asked. A little nervous, but I'm going to get over it. I am very moved by the whole integrated body psychotherapy, because what it does is it really asks us, instead of doing head-down therapy, talking about what's in your head, to start from your feet up, that your body matters in the way that you experience your life and you process what's going on in your world. In the 70s, that's when there was a lot of people up in Esalen all talking about different kinds of body therapies, and it was considered a little bit out there. It drew on yoga and Qigong, which is, many of you have participated in those. So this is an ancient practice of getting in touch with the body. But in Western culture, we were really taking the head first approach. And a lot of you may be hearing about mindfulness right now. It's pretty, a lot of people talk about mindfulness. And in Western culture, we would often think the mind is in the head, right? Well, in Asian culture, the word for heart and mind are the same word. Our mind is our entire body. We are activated throughout our body. And we think of thoughts and feelings, but there's also sensing the body that gives us a more complete and positive approach to moving through our lives in a holistic way. Many of us feel like we're isolated and lonely. In fact, that's what most people come in to talk to me about, not feeling a part of. And part of the therapy that I work with is getting back in touch. What is holding you back in your body? What is holding you back? And when we get in touch with our energies and what happens within the body, we can really then reach out. Our energies connect. We don't feel so isolated through that energetic connection. So there's a couple ways that I work with this. One is that I look at emotions that may be buried in the body. Our body remembers. Our body remembers. And when the emotion isn't processed in the brain, maybe we're pushing away. Maybe it's painful. It looks really hard to deal with. It gets stuck in the body. We feel a binding, a kind of binding. Now, the real amazing thing is that neuroscience is like supporting this in leaps and bounds right now. We understand now that we have a belly brain. There's so much that happens below your belly button, right? We won't go into all the details, but there's a lot going on there. And we actually now know that, 80 to 90% of serotonin, that's the neurotransmitter that gives us mood regulation and a peaceful feeling, is produced in our intestinal tract. Okay? Pretty amazing, right? Just think about what you eat now. It's affecting your little transmitters there. It certainly affected me when I got that part. Okay? We also know that the heart senses emotion before it's processed in the brain. We feel it. And it goes up to the brain, and then we translate it into a feeling, so emotion is in the body. And when I work with people and I look at their trauma, in the body, and we're able to connect to it, people are able to just sit with the feeling. The feeling passes, right? You're not going to feel sad forever. But feel the feeling in its wholeness instead of the pushing away through the thoughts, the rationalization. We have, our attitudes and beliefs. Those are the emotions. And then we have our attitudes and beliefs. Sometimes we get really rigid in what we believe. Our flexibility starts to go away. No, I believe that is bad. That's a judgment. That judging begins to bind up the heart. You can actually feel it in there, that resistance to making that step towards forgiveness or towards putting your hand out to a person that maybe you feel has wronged you, right? It's in the body. So when those judgments, knowing that the judgments that are going on I call it, in Eastern, in Buddhism they call it the monkey brain. That little voice up there that's going blah, 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 blah. That's bad, that's good, that's horrible, that's great. You know, I've made friends with my monkey brain. I do not recommend taking your monkey brain out to lunch, but make friends with it. Just say, oh, there's my little monkey brain. Is that really 100% true? Does that thought serve me, or is it binding my heart? So I wanted to do a little exercise with you and just talk to you about how you can get back in touch with your body so that your energies can get freed up. One of them, and many of you may be doing this, so I hope I'm, validating and giving you that affirmation that this is really good stuff, is getting grounded. Getting grounded is simply getting back into your body, noticing, getting in the moment, being aware, okay? All it does is it takes a few deep breaths. And I use this point right here to touch, because when you can actually touch your own body, you comfort yourself. And you'll actually, there's pictures of the saints and of the Virgin Mary. You'll see often the hand is right here, right? And when we do this, we produce oxytocin. That's the bonding neurotransmitter in our body. That makes us feel whole and complete, like we are attached to something bigger than ourselves. So I was going to invite you, if you want to, just put your hand right here. Feel your feet on the ground. And take a breath. And just let yourself feel present to your own comfort. That you are whole and complete, and that your judgments are just judgments. They don't have to bind your heart. Feel that comfort from yourself, in your body, and present. I thank you guys. I really do. Thank you.
The words are different, but the message is the same. If Jesus had those words, he would have used those words, because he was connected. He was totally connected, his body and his spirit. And then at the end of that gospel reading, I think what I find most interesting, his title is not Son of God. If you notice, he's Son of Man. So his message today is to be fully human. To be fully human is to be fully connected. And that is what divinity is. It's to be totally human, to be that connected to ourselves, that integrated, that self-aware. And then he says, don't tell anybody about this. Why is he saying that? Because he knows that this kind of inner work that Gail just touched on, the kind of inner work that Jesus knew what was going to cause in his life, which is crucifixion and death. The kind of inner work that hurts. The kind of inner work that takes a little struggle, a little humility, a little, I guess I'm not as right as I thought I was. Those kind of inner works are little crucifixions that happen in our lives. But Jesus invites us not to put a tent down, but to take the journey. He says, don't worship me, come follow me. Don't worship the journey, take the journey. And that, my brothers and sisters, is just another way of saying Lent. That if we can go through these few weeks of inner working maybe, a little transformation on the inside, Easter will be celebrated here at Good Shepherd Church with you wonderful people, not as an event, but as another step in a process, in a journey, as we become truly and fully human, which is to be truly and fully integrated with our own divinity given to us in the light of the risen Christ.